is by Lizzie. I am a vegan knitter from New Hampshire, and today I have a regular knitting podcast episode for you where I'm going to update you on everything that I've been knitting on recently. Today's episode is everything that I've been knitting since the beginning of August, and for the first time ever on this channel, I have no whips for a knitting podcast. This is all finished objects, so I have completely cleared my needles and I am ready for fall cast-ons. And so I am going to share with you guys the garments and socks that I finished recently, and then also at the end, in place of the time that I would normally be talking about my works in progress, instead I'm going to chat about what I'm going to immediately cast on. Even today, after I film this episode, I'll probably cast these things on, and hopefully we can share in the joy together of finished objects. So without further ado, let's jump right on into it. I've got all of my projects right now in my Rhinebeck bag from last year. It's very fun. It's a very big bag. Can hold a lot of things. I'm going to go over these finished objects in the chronological order of when I cast them off. So the one that I cast off first was my Terracotta Sweater by Lee Knit, which is this all-over textured and colorwork sweater where you are alternating when you're doing the colorwork and when you're doing the texture. And so, of course, there are different patterns for the colorwork design, but there's also different texture patterns as well. You have both broken rib and then also broken, I guess, moss stitch in between the colorwork pattern. And so this project is so engaging. Honestly, even more engaging than just like a regular colorwork project, because there's always something new, and by the time you're kind of getting tired of doing colorwork, you get to do some textured, and then by the time you're kind of tired of doing knits and purled textures, you get to do colorwork again. And so there's always something new going on with this sweater. It's such an enjoyable knit. The only slight downside to this project is that because it is a drop shoulder construction, you have to do some colorwork flat before you join in the round. So there is some colorwork. So this very first colorwork motif here. This very first colorwork motif is in the yoke instead of in the body, and so because it's a drop shoulder, you do the yoke flat, and so you have to do some color work on the wrong side of the work, so you have to do color work where you're just purling. I'm an English knitter, and so I think that this is slightly easier for me to do than if you are doing continental. I don't actually know, because I've never tried continental knitting before, but I've heard a lot of complaints about purling from continental knitters, and as an English knitter, I do prefer the knit stitch over the purl stitch, but I think that the purl stitch is even more like inconvenient, or it takes more time in continental knitting than it does when you're doing English. Like, there's not that much different in the terms of your like hand motion when you're English knitting and purling. And so I don't find the colorwork knitting flat to be crazy more difficult than in the round. It is more difficult and it does take more time, but not astronomically so to make it so that I don't want to do it. So that's the only small caveat I would say to this pattern, but other than that, absolutely so much fun. And my goal in doing this project was to try to color match pretty closely the colors that Lena Holmes Samso used in one of her sample photos, or her samples that she knit. I really wanted to get a like terracotta pink as my contrast color, and I didn't quite achieve that. The yarn that I used to knit this was a combination of a cotton yarn from Hobbii, baby cotton from Hobbii, and then also Lammy yarn Soft Sensations, which is an acrylic mohair, and I held those two together. And my contrast color was an apricot orange, pinky orange from the baby cotton from Hobbii, and then a light pink with the Lammy yarn Soft Sensations. And so in the end, I have a slightly marled pink color for my contrasting color, and it doesn't quite exactly match the terracotta that I was going for. It's not like brown enough, but I actually really like how it turned out, and it's okay that it's not like perfectly the same as hers. I still think it's a very similar vibe, and I don't have, I think, any pink in any of my sweaters. It's just not a color that I go for very often, and so it's pretty fun to have a sweater that's got a little bit of pink, a little bit of girliness, but because it's just like this contrasting color of pink, it's not like so much that it's not too much pink for me, basically. So in the end, I'm really happy with how the colors turned out. For the fit of this is definitely a very oversized sweater. I knit a size up than what I would have knit if I was following the suggestion, because I did really want that slouchy kind of feel that she has in the sample photos, and I was afraid that if I knit the size with the suggested ease for my bust that it wasn't going to be quite slouchy enough, and so I ended up getting a fit that I wanted where it was really oversized. It is maybe slightly shorter than I had envisioned, slightly more cropped than I had envisioned, just with that very oversized feel, but the way that the length that it's at now actually like fits me very well in terms of like wearability and not like getting into things. It's just not quite as like, ooh, this is my boyfriend style huge sweater fit that I was maybe envisioned at first, but I actually think in the end it will make it more wearable to have a combination of oversized in terms of width, but like a good size in terms of length. I think that's going to be super wearable, and I have finished blocking this, but you'll see in the you'll see in my my tried on finish that I'm going to show you that I have not woven in the ends, and so that's my very final step, is I'm going to weave in the ends, and then I'm probably going to wear this when I go to work tomorrow. I'm filming this on a Sunday, and so tomorrow I will wear this for the first time, and I'm really excited to do that. So in the end, I highly recommend this project. I do think that it's fairly beginner friendly, maybe not for your very first sweater ever, but if you've done a drop shoulder and you want to try something with a little more interest, like color work or texture, I think you could totally do that. The charts aren't too complicated, and definitely the texture pattern is not complicated at all. It's just knits and purls. And so this is definitely something that if you are ready for the next step of more than just like a basic sweater, I think that this is totally doable, and like I said, really fun and engaging because of all of the different parts of it. The next finished object I have that I cast off after I cast off the terracotta sweater is a just really basic pair of vanilla socks, and I showed one of these finished socks as a half finished object in my last episode in August, and so since then I have finished the other sock mainly on during traveling time. So when I've, just like been a passenger in a car going places, this is mainly what I work on. Or if I'm on a bus going somewhere, this is socks are definitely what I've been working on lately. And I knit this out of Cascade Yarn's Cherub sock, which is an acrylic and nylon blend, about 50-50 acrylic and nylon blend. And I did it in this marled purple color. Let's see. I'll zoom in. Maybe. So this is a marled purple color where it's got some blues and pinks in the purple, and so it was really fun to make a vanilla sock out of this kind of interesting yarn, but this is a commercial acrylic and nylon yarn, and so I can totally just throw these socks in the washer and dryer. I'll probably just throw them in with my like total regular laundry and not really worry about them too much, and I think that they should hold up just fine with what they're made out of, and so I can wear these socks without too much worry because they're fun but not like so special that if I destroyed them by wearing them or destroyed them in the laundry that I'll be really sad. I did these on 9-inch circulars with 2.0 millimeter needles, and I cast on 56 stitches for my foot. I think on 2.0 millimeter needles that I should have gone up a size and knit 60 or cast on 64 stitches. Yeah, 64 stitches. Because when I put these socks on, they have to stretch quite a bit to go over the width of my foot, and so I had to knit it lengthwise, maybe even longer than I normally would have, because when it stretches out widthwise, it shortens the length of them. And so I am in the process of discovering my perfect like sock combo, and I think for me 56 stitches on 2.25 millimeter needles fits my foot pretty well in terms of circumference, but if I'm doing 2.0 millimeter needles, I should go up a size to 64 stitches. However, I think I'm going to stop knitting with the 2.00 millimeter needles because They are just like a little bit too tight, and I think it's a little bit easier to maneuver and handle the 2.25 millimeter needles. And so my next socks I'm going to try, I'm going to move away from my 9-inch circular 2.0 millimeter needles and try a new method. But these were really great for just like I need 5 minutes, I have 5 minutes to fill of like random knitting time. Vanilla socks are like so perfect for that, and I honestly feel slightly foolish that I hadn't gotten in the habit of doing that in my knitting journey before, just to like always have a pair of socks in my like backpack or purse or whatever. And I have now started to do that, and I'm making all these socks. I really would love to be in that situation where every single day, except for like when I'm running or something, I can wear hand knit socks and have enough that I can do that. I think that's my goal, and I think that towards the end of 2025 and into 2026, it's gonna be a pretty sock heavy year of knitting for me, and I am really looking forward to it. So these are a pair of vanilla socks knit out of Cascade Yarn's Cherub sock. My final finished object that I'm going to share with you all today, I am so excited to announce is finished, and it is my book club cardigan by Sari Nordlund. And this is an all-over cabled cardigan that was really popular last year, and I added this to my queue summer of 2024 with the hopes of knitting it in the fall and winter of 2024, and I ended up casting this on in springtime, like late winter, early spring of 2025, and then I knit nearly all of it, but cast on way too many stitches for a sleeve, and had knit almost my whole first sleeve and realized that it was just ginormous, and so I had it on hold in the like timeout naughty whip corner. I had it on hold for the whole summer, and a couple weeks ago I decided, you know, it's September now, it's time for the book club cardigan to come back, and I really want to wear it this fall, especially in this brown color that I'm knitting it in. I really want to wear it this fall, and so I just ripped it out, which actually took forever because I'm knitting this in a combination of a acrylic plus and a polyester acrylic mohair held together, and so the frogging like two yarns held together, and one of them being a mohair, took me so long, like an entire evening of like pulling back, winding up 2 balls of yarn, pulling back, winding up 2 balls of yarn. It took forever. But once I had that done, I was free to, you know, re-knit the sleeves, and it actually didn't even take me as long as I had feared in the first place. And so this really long-standing whip is finally finished, and this cardigan, like I said, was really popular last year, and I think you can see why. It's just like so gorgeous. It has these diamond, I'll zoom in on for you. It might be hard to see with my color choice, my dark brown color choice. It has these diamond motifs as the like prominent cable feature, which I had never knit before, and I absolutely love these diamond style cables, so I definitely think I will knit a pullover sweater that has them at some point in the future. But they were super fun to knit, and actually way more intuitive than I was expecting. Like, I actually did not need to look at the chart hardly at all, and usually for cable patterns I can memorize them pretty quickly, but I was expecting for these diamonds, I don't know, just because they aren't the same, like for most cables it's the same exact movement every like 4 rows or every 8 rows or whatever, but for these cables you're doing something different every other row, and I thought that I was gonna have to look at the chart like the whole time that I was knitting it, but actually after doing like one motif, it is really, I think, intuitive if you look back at what you've already done, what direction like you need to move your cable, and so that made this a really fun knit. I just ended up getting mad at this whip this past spring, but only because of faults of my own, which is for picking up sleeves, way too many stitches for the sleeves. So I still, even though I had that hiccup with this pattern, I still recommend this pattern if you are looking for something that takes some attention, but I think still is a doable thing. I'm also really happy with the color of this garment, the way that it turned out. I was holding like I said, 2 yarns together. I was using Hobbii Kind Feather, which is 100% acrylic yarn, and then I held it with Lammy yarn Soft Sensations, and I think I actually have them here. So I had a lighter brown for the Hobbii Kind Feather, And then I held it with this darker brown mohair from Lammy Yarn Soft Sensations. And so together they were, you know, a bit marled because they're not the exact same shade of brown, but it somehow, I think the marling actually ended up accentuating the cables when I was afraid that the marling was going to hide the cables, but it gives this like depth to the color profile, I guess, that I think enables you to see the stitches really well. And so I'm really happy with it. And then also it makes this garment even more fall. The fact that it's in this brown color, it's like kind of the color of leaves that have like fallen on the ground, or like the color of dirt, I guess, but in a good way. So I am so excited to actually wear this. I just finished weaving in the ends literally this morning, and so I still need to do the very final touches on this project, so I need to block it first, of course, and then I am going to add my buttons, and I have had these buttons for this project for so long. I got these at Rhinebeck last year, so almost a full year ago, I got these wooden toggle buttons for this project. Let me show you. So as you can see, they are not all the same color. There's a couple that are darker brown and a couple that are lighter brown, but I actually think that's really fun, and I already have some marling going on in this project. And so what I'm gonna do, I think, is just alternate a darker brown and a lighter brown, darker brown and a lighter brown, and I think that will look intentional and cool. So I was thinking about whether I should sew these on before I block or after, but even though this is acrylic, I'm going to steam block it, and so if I sew these on, these buttons still are going to get wet. I mean, they'll get wet when I wash it, but I think it's better if I block it first and then sew these on. I think also the garment might, you know, it's going to relax when I block it, and so I might be able to sew these on more like accurately after it's blocked. So that's my plan for this one, and I'm going to do that very, very soon so that I can wear this now that it's getting like a little bit colder, especially in the mornings. In the mornings here, it's been like 40 degrees or 45 degrees Fahrenheit, like a situation where you need to be wearing a sweater, not like forcing yourself to wear a sweater in 70-degree weather, which is what I do sometimes in the fall just because I want to be wearing a sweater so much. But it's like actually necessary to be wearing a sweater in the morning here now, and I, as a knitter, of course, I love that, and it makes me so happy. And so now that it is actually getting colder, I can wear my book club cardigan, which I wanted to be wearing this past like full year. I've dreamt of this sweater for so long. And so I'm so proud of myself for, one, not just like going ahead with the huge sleeves, even though I knew that they were wrong, like actually ripping it out and re-knitting it. And I paused this garment, and also instead of just like powering through knitting it when I didn't want to be knitting it. And I don't know, I guess I'm glad that I followed my knitting intuition, or like my gut of what I was thinking about this garment, and because in the end it has made for a way more enjoyable knitting experience and knitting process, and I still love the garment so much, and I still get to have the garment in enough time to wear it, because if I had finished it last like June, which is I think when I put it on pause, I was not going to be wearing this when it was 80 degrees out. There's no way I could have done that. And so it's not like I missed out on time that I could have been wearing it because I paused. Like that didn't happen at all. So I'm really happy of myself for doing that. So I will probably wear this in the next knitting podcast so that you guys can see it completely done with the buttons and everything. But I will, of course, I'm sure already put in some footage of me wearing it how it is right now. So yeah, this is the book club cardigan, finally all finished and ready to wear, and I just couldn't be happier. I'm so ready to wear this. So as I said, I, for the first time ever, don't have any whips, and it feels really weird to not have anything on my needles. Like I said, I finished weaving in the ends on my book club cardigan this morning, and so I had cast it off, and I now have completely clear needles, which is pretty rare for me. I almost always have at least some overlap between knitting projects, but I did want to intentionally get my needles cleared so that I could cast on new things and not have my mind be thinking about other other whips in the background, like namely the Bookclub Cardigan. So I am super excited to have a totally clean palette and ready to cast on all sorts of knitting things, and I am going to tell you what they are going to be. So I mentioned in my fall knitting plans video that I want to cast on the Rosie sweater, and I mentioned in that video that I had started a gauge swatch that I was pretty sure was going to be the colors that I was going to do. And I finished that gauge swatch after filming that video and then decided that I actually didn't like it. The colors that I'd done in the gauge swatch that I ended up abandoning was a marled black and gray for the main color and red for the roses. As a quick reminder, the Rosie sweater is a sweater designed by Lee Knit that has these two bands of roses going across, going around the sweater on the body and on the sleeves, and it has absolutely blown up. Everyone is talking about the sweater, and I don't mind hopping on a trend. I would be wanting to knit the sweater even if it wasn't like on everyone's mind, and the reason it's on everyone's mind is because it's so freaking cute. So I'm doing it up. But I knit a black and white as the main color in my, or excuse me, black and gray as the main color, and then a really bright red for the roses. And I think that it would have worked out if I had a more muted tone for the red in the roses, if I had my contrasting color as maybe like more like a maroon ish, or just, yeah, a brownier red or something. It was just like bright berry red, and it just wasn't what I was going for, and I really was trying to make it work because I had all of the yarn in stash that I needed to if I was going to choose those colors, and I thought that it was just gonna be so satisfying to make something completely from stash without having to buy anything. But I made the gauge swatch and I was like, oh, I don't love this, and this sweater is so cute that I don't want to mess it up by choosing the wrong colors and then not wear it and like spend all this time working on these colorwork motifs that I think are going to be slightly more difficult colorwork motifs if it's the wrong color, you know? So what I did is that I did order some more yarn for the main color. I did have the contrast color in stash at least, but I ordered a light brown, and I tried a gauge swatch using a light brown yarn and just like a white and cream as the contrasting color, and I was kind of afraid that they weren't going to be contrasting enough to show off the motif, but I think it worked out okay. Let me show you. So my main color here is Cascade Yarns Cherub sock in the color Ginger Root, I believe, this light brown yarn. And I just have their cream ecru color as the contrasting color, again in Cascade Yarns Cherub sock. And I have held both of those yarns with a mohair, and the mohair is Lammy Yarn Soft Sensations, which is the pretty much only vegan mohair that I know of. And I am actually holding the same exact mohair color for my contrasting color and my main color, partly because the mohair that I have in stash I think works with both of these colors, my contrasting color and my main color, but also because I am unable to get a hold of more Lammy Yarn Soft Sensations right now. I am unable to find a company that will ship it to the US, and I have tried many times, even before all of the tariff things happened, to see if there was a distributor either in the US or, yeah, in a place that's closer to me in order to get this yarn, but it looks like Lammy Yarns is pretty much only sold in Europe, so I'm currently unable to get a hold of any more Lammy Yarn Soft Sensations at the moment, and so I tried to see if I could get away with these colors with the mohair that I had in stash, and I have a bunch of the beige color of Lammy Yarn Soft Sensations, which I've used in the past before, and I really love that color of mohair that they have, and so it's a little bit, the beige color is a little bit lighter than this light brown that I'm holding as the main color, and the beige mohair is a little bit darker than the cream that I'm holding for the contrasting color, but I think that it actually works out just fine to still be able to see the motif here. The only issue is that the leaves look a little bit not as defined, but I think that may have been some color dominance issues that I was doing while knitting this. I had to knit this back and forth flat, the swatch, even though the sweater is knit in the round. I just couldn't, I don't know, I just didn't want to do a in the round gauge swatch, even though if your sweater is in the round, the proper way to do a gauge swatch is to do your gauge swatch in the round, but I didn't do that. I did a gauge swatch flat. So I'm hoping that in a full sweater, when I've done the full motif and there's lots of leaves everywhere, that it'll be very obvious. I think that the rose itself definitely looks like a rose and it's very obvious. So I'm actually holding the same color of mohair as my contrast color and my main color, but it's actually working out fine. And at first I tried to do, when I was doing the colorwork motif, I tried to use the same exact strand of mohair in my contrasting color, like with my contrasting color, and the exact same strand of mohair, meaning that I would only have 3 yarns attached to my project. The Cascade Yarns Cherub Sock in the color Ginger Root, the Cascade Yarns Cherub Sock in the cream color, and then my mohair, and it just didn't, it totally messed up the flow of switching between the contrasting color and the main color to try to only drop 1 yarn and pick up only other yarn instead of just dropping everything and picking up a completely another color. And so I'm gonna have 2, when I knit this, I'm gonna have 2 balls of mohair that are the exact same color attached to my project. So I guess I just need to make sure that I keep track of like what ball of mohair goes with what, but I think it'll be okay. Whenever I'm doing color work, I have like one clump of colors to one side of me and then another clump of colors to the other side of me, so it's really obvious what strands are coming from where, and it just makes the yarn management easier for me. So despite what I said in my knitting plans video, I wasn't sure of my colors yet actually, but now I have decided that I'm going to do this light brown and cream for my Rosie sweater, and I think I'm actually going to cast this sweater on today, and it's going to be my next big garment project, is the Rosie sweater by Lean It. The next project that I'm going to cast on very, very soon, if not today, is going to be my next upcoming sock project. And I'm not sure exactly what pattern I'm going to do, but I do know what yarn I'm going to use. And I'm going to use some hand-dyed yarn. I'm going to use some hand-dyed yarn from the Athenian maker, who is a botanical dyer, and kindly sent me this yarn to try out. And this is her vegan sock yarn, which is a blend of different fibers. Let's see here. This is a blend of 40% tencel, 40% organic cotton, and 20% elastic. So it should be perfect for socks. And I have the color Lily here. And she did send me a coupon code to share with you all if you would like to try some of her botanically dyed yarn as well. And that's Knits by Lizzie 10. So you can use that code if you would like to get a discount on your yarn and try this out too. But this is a really beautiful color, again called Lily, that has these purples and orange and yellow. And because this is a, what would you call it, variegated sock yarn, I do want to pick a pattern that is fairly simple to show off the beauty of her botanically dyed yarn. But I don't think I want to do just a basic vanilla sock. Like I said, I just finished a vanilla sock, so I want to do something that's more than just stockinette. And I also do not want to do ribbed, because the sock I knit before these vanilla socks was a 3x1 ribbed sock, and so I also kind of just did that. Even though I think that ribbed socks are really fun to knit and I think look really good with hand-dyed yarn, yeah, I don't want to do a super basic sock. But on the other hand, I don't want to muddle the beautiful colors with a beautiful design. I need them both to shine. So I need to do a little bit of thinking about what pattern to do, and I think in order to help me, I'm going to use a sock book that I received for Christmas last year. The sock book that I received for Christmas last year was the 52 Weeks of Socks book, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. It is a pretty popular book, and this is by, I believe you pronounce it Laine Publishing, L-A-I-N-E, and this book is a collection of 52 different sock patterns by a bunch of different designers. So it's not just one designer, it is several different designers, and they have all sorts of different types of sock patterns in here. They have DK weight socks, they have obviously mainly fingering weight socks, they've got color work, they've got texture, loads and loads of texture, lots and lots of cables, and all sorts of fun designs. And so most of these designs are, I would say, maybe like a little bit too complicated for my really fun variegated yarn from the Athenian maker, but there are some designs in here that are still a texture design, but aren't so complicated that I think it would still make sense to knit with a variegated yarn. So because I haven't knit, I've had this book for almost a year and I haven't knit one a pattern out of it yet. I think that's what I want to do for these pair of socks that I'm about to cast on. So I just need to look through this book and figure out what I'm gonna do. They are so beautiful, but a few options might be one option I might do is the Garia pattern it looks like by Erica Lopez, which has a little bit of design features, but is not a hugely complicated pattern. So I think that you would still be able to see the design and still see the beautiful colors in the sock yarn. This looks like it's actually mainly purl stitches, which is kind of interesting. I might have to think about if I want to be purling a bunch in my sock to knit that pattern. There's also this pattern called Alvar by Fiona Alice, which is a little bit of a color work design, so I would use my variegated yarn as the main color and then look in my stash and see if I could use something as the contrast color. And I think that this is actually some intarsia, which I've never done before, and so that might be fun. I would just need to make sure that I have enough of a contrasting color to do that, but it doesn't look like there's very much contrasting color actually used in this sock, so that might be able to do that. So those are two options as of right now, but yeah, I need to think a little bit more about what to do. If you have any suggestions for a slightly interesting sock pattern that would still look good with variegated yarn, I would love to hear your suggestions. But I think what I'm going to look through again to find a pattern is to actually use something from the sock book, and probably what I'm going to do is just take a picture of it on my phone so that I don't have to carry this book around with me wherever I go, and still have access to it on my phone. Looks like it's actually starting to rain out here, so I'm going to finish up there, but it was lovely chatting with you all about my knitting projects, and I hope you were able to work on your own project while watching this video, and I hope you're getting just as excited for fall knitting as I am now with all my clear needles. I can do so much stuff. So with that, I'm going to send lots of big hugs to everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye!